I was thinking we're in Canary Wharf, there's about 3 floors. I literally I could probably name one other black person in these floors. So it's always been that situation. And I think that was the bit which took the longest time for me to get over as a person, not because of the quality of my work, but the certain things that people who go to private schools and all the rest of it know as part of the way they've always been taught, the cultural capital, as they say in sociology.
So tell me more about your mindset now. Obviously you was ill, so you missed opportunities to do the HBOS role. So then you now started applying for jobs, struggling to obviously find a role, good graduate role, and then when you now get in, you can't get a role in that particular department you want. So you're almost backs in the corner and you just take whatever you get.
Yeah.
How are you feeling, thinking about yourself? Where's your confidence at this point?
I think it was strange because I was confident in the basis that I was like, I said to the last interview, I was like, we've had 5 interviews. There's nothing you don't know about me by now. I don't have any more answers to give you, right? So I think there was a certain confidence that I knew I had a role. I just needed to find the right place to fit in. But that whole, oh yeah, it's the other team, it just felt at the time, I was like, well, where is this going to end kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It was more of that than the sort of a rejection feeling. It was more, rejection is when someone says no point blank. This is, we like you, we want you to be part of the organisation, but we just need to get to the right team. And I think that was just more of a waiting game. It's more of a patience.
How long did that take, roughly, from the first interview to actually getting in the team?
It was actually it was probably something like, I want to say the first interview was something like March, and then August was in yeah.
What?
It was ridiculous, yeah. But yeah, again, it was largely because...
is it because we was just coming out of the recession? Or
it's mostly because, as I said, these teams kept on being filled up, and then because the teams were filled up, the interview process changed. For example, I wanted to do internal audit, but internal audit's filled up, so I had to pick another service line. That means a different interviewer, so then I have to wait for that interview to be free, and et cetera, et cetera. So
went on for a while.
It went on for a little while.
So you're in now risk services, risk advisory.
Yeah.
How long, so did you stay in there for the full grad program, so 2 years?
Yeah.
Okay, but you moved into different departments within risk? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, and you work with clients as well, essentially, I assume?
Yeah.
So how long were you at KPMG?
Best part of 9 years.
So you went from graduate to what title did you get to? Director. In 9 years. Is that quick or is that slow?
Yeah, that's quick.
Because you've got associate, senior associate, manager,
senior
manager, director.
Yeah.
9, and it's normally 2 years plus per thing.
I got 2 promotions in 1 year at one point.
Okay. So which one was that? So 2 promotions, that manager to director or senior to manager?
So it was every 2 years till I got to manager. And then when I went to Ireland, what happened is that I was promoted in Ireland to senior manager.
Right.
And then the director left, and then I kind of was just doing the role. So I was like, oh, why don't we just make you a director? So I was like, okay.
And that happened when you was in another country?
Yeah.
But then hold on, what year is this then?
This would have been 2015.
But Ireland is hot though, for tech and all that kind of stuff. It's big business now, isn't it? Because Google's there, everyone is there setting up their subsidiaries. Yeah. So what was it like being in that kind of environment? What kind of clients were you working with in Ireland?
It was really interesting because obviously the whole Brexit thing happened at the same time. So a lot of it was UK clients as well. And them wanting to move to Ireland or to set up subsidiaries or whatever. In terms of the clientele, my clientele's always been asset management, really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so it was the larger asset managers, or asset managers generally, that was my clientele.
And being a director, considering the journey at the beginning, trying to get into this organisation, what did you have to do to get that level of role? Like when you look back, Did you
As I
really?
said, you've got to take the opportunities.
That was the main.
Yeah,
But
I
then
think,
becoming a director, do you now have target financially to hit
yeah,
where you didn't have that as senior manager, or not as much?
not as much.
The
no.
weight. Okay. But then now
I'd always been okay with the financials, to be fair.
to hit the numbers.
Yeah.
Right. So that means you're like a ball. You were getting bonuses and all that kind of good stuff. Were you,
Yeah.
Because you're an overachiever, right? Silently.
Okay. No, I mean, so how it works in the Big Four is obviously you get bonuses, but it's not like investment banking bonuses, right? So you're not getting that kind of money, and it is very much the word pyramid always sounds wrong, but the structure is a pyramid. Really, you get really senior people at the top, and you got a lot of people at the bottom, and so that's how the bonus structure works, right? The people at the bottom get less than the people at the top. So yeah, I got bonuses, but they were good, but they weren't earth-shattering, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So at this stage, then you're 9 years into your professional career,
Yeah.
and you decide to do what next?
Well, it was a bit of a challenge because I've been pushed so far up in Ireland. When I wanted to come back to the UK, they were struggling a little bit because
There's no roles.
there was no roles of that nature, and salary and all the rest of it, just lying around. Those types of roles, it takes a little while, it takes negotiation. You've got to create a business case, blah, 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 blah. And so I got a little bit impatient. My personal life, I was with my wife, but we weren't married, so there was a little bit of pressure.
Ireland.
Yeah, there's a little bit of pressure to come back to the UK and stuff. And I said, well, at the time it was a massive choice because I didn't know, but I felt really, supported there. I felt that if I really wanted to apply myself, I could probably get to partner
In Ireland.
In Ireland,
Right.
but at the same time, I was thinking to myself, but I don't really have a network here. I don't really have a
Right.
I don't really have, my friends are my work friends, it's cool, but I don't actually have any connections really outside of work here. So then I decided to come back, but I kind of then talked to a few people that I already knew, and then I went to EY.
As what role?
Well, they call it senior manager, but they don't have a director role, so it's a bit of a weird one.
But you'd be a senior manager, but maybe a high banding?
I was quite high banding.
Okay, cool. So senior manager at EY, still in risk,
Yeah.
and compliance
Yeah.
more so?
Yeah.
Have you specialised by this point?
Yeah, so maybe just take a step back. So within the grad program, I did sort of various risk roles and in compliance, and I kind of stayed in compliance. So that's probably from when I was a graduate, I started doing that.
Okay, cool. And then
Yeah.
EY, obviously working with a similar kind of clientele,
Yeah.
asset managers. What was culturally then, going from one Big Four to the those organisations, what would you say for someone that's obviously and ahhing between which company to go to? Was there a difference, really?
There was a difference. And I don't want it to sound like everyone was nice, but there was a difference. And I think where I was is that EY probably saw me as someone who could do the job well, and do a particular job that they needed well, and I don't think they quite understood that clearly I had a bit of a fast-tracked career.
Right.
When I was at KPMG. I'm not saying I wanted to continue on that track at that pace, but I don't think they kind of appreciated that. I think they thought, well, this guy can do this job for us. He can do it, and we can bring him in and we can pay him. But I don't think they quite figured out that I was like, I don't really want to come in and be doing things which I used to do. I'm trying to move forward. And so a lot of the stuff that I was doing was stuff that I'd been doing when I was a manager at KPMG, to be fair. So it felt a little bit backwards in terms of the day-to-day. So I think probably it was more of that than probably a cultural issue from their perspective.
So what? So you come in as a senior manager. What's the next level after that at EY?
Like associate partner kind of thing. Yeah.
So did you go up to that level?
Nah. What happened is I just got a little bit too annoyed with. I kind of was telling them I need to do something a bit more, along the lines of what I was doing when I was at KPMG. I decided a role came up at a smaller consultancy to be a director and to sort of start your own sort of mini practice. And I thought it's much more interesting to me than, because that's kind of what I was doing in Ireland. It wasn't sort of just
building
sitting.
something.
I was building something. I wasn't sort of sitting just delivering. I have no problem delivering projects. I've been doing it for years, but it wasn't really taking me forward. So I thought this would be more interesting. And also I wasn't really heavily restricted at the time because I hadn't worked with so many EY clients.
Right.
So I went there, and that was a place called TCC. That was interesting, learned loads. Within the sort of compliance advisory community, there's something called being a skilled person, which basically means you work for the FCA.
Okay.
So I did some of those, which I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do at EY.
So what does that look like?
Well, basically saying that the regulators picked you and your company to do a review on their behalf, and so you do the review.
So do you have to pitch for that, or
yeah?
Oh, so you pitch for it, as in you pitch for that company, or they?
As in they already on the. There's already like a big list.
Right.
And then you have to go and pitch to the company who's got the skilled person's report that they need to do.
And that was what you had to produce.
And yeah, so I did a few of those, which was really interesting. A lot of pressure. A lot of pressure, but it was interesting because you get to see what the regulator's looking for and what firms need to do, and that was interesting. It taught me a lot.
So you would have to do this on behalf of the consultancy's clients, client.
Yeah.
Okay, so they essentially they'll have a business case and they say we need this to go through, but we don't have the know-how to get.
Yeah, and the FCA has to be happy with it as well.
So you're kind of the intermediary to make sure that okay, and you did that for a couple of organisations.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have been able to do that at EY because most of them would probably already been FCA regulated.
Well, no, I wouldn't have been senior enough because it's normally a partner.
Oh, really?
Someone. Yeah.
Wow. So how long were you at this consultancy then?
I was there for about 18 months, and then my current employer said, who was a client, because of point lying, decided to ask me, do you want to do this? And I was like, oh, well, again, I've never, as a consultant and being quite young, and obviously I'm not a typical consulting.
What does that mean?
Ethnicity. A lot of the time, if I got any feedback or pushback, it would be like, you've never actually been a compliance officer.
Oh, okay.
That would be the only sort of potentially negative feedback. Not that I'm wrong or anything like that, but just you never done the role. So I thought, well, it's a great opportunity to do it. And then, I'm not saying it's ticking the CV at all, but it's giving me greater skills. It's giving me an understanding of what other people are going through and another experience.
So you got hired as a compliance officer or the chief?
The chief.
Oh, so you got hired in at that level?
Yeah.
So here's a question. So you've done the consulting thing. Obviously, you've seen the ups and downs. You've got loads of exposure. You're really in this compliance space, which some people say is boring, but it actually seems quite exciting. Why do you now go to work for a company rather than trying to become a partner in a consulting? Because if you imagine career trajectory, you're not too far off. You're like about 5 years to probably become a partner somewhere, essentially. Would you say?
Yeah.
So
it was largely driven by, and also I think, well, if you think about it, I've been doing consulting for 10 years. Consulting, it can be hard work. I think people, it's exciting. It's a really exciting job. You learn loads because you're constantly seeing new people, new clients, seeing what other people do. So it's a fantastic career. But when you've done it for a decade, you've got loads of experience. And so part of me was, whilst I love consulting, wanted to also slow down because consulting does have a lot of travel. So bear in mind, personally now I'm married. I want to do a little bit less travel. Also, in terms of, I had got a little bit to the point of, I'm actually I don't want to say bored, but I want to do something different.
So you take this role on your current employer,
Yeah.
and then how many people report to you in this new role?
17.
And 17, and these are senior people that have people that report to them?
No, this is my total team is 17. I've got about 5 direct reports.
Okay, cool. And in terms of, just so people can understand the gravity of your role, when we talk about assets under management in terms of what you are overseeing, how much are we talking about?
$1 trillion AUA globally.
Nice.
And UK is a substantial part of that.
Here's actually a question, which is not even in my notes, but actually came to me that I've been thinking about for a while. When I go to different parts in the world, I realize that financial services here is very advanced in terms of, for the West perspective, not China because they're on a different level, but in terms of here, we are like more advanced in America, like in a completely different way, right? This is our thing, isn't it? Financial services.
Yeah. Financial services is definitely our thing in the UK, yeah.
Wow. So now you're sitting at this role. How many people in your organization look like you? At the senior level?
At the senior level, well, I think I'm the only, are we talking about in the UK or are we talking about globally?
Globally.
Globally, I think, so in the UK, there's only me. I think there's a CRO in South Africa. And I think we're struggling.
Everywhere else.
Yeah.
But then, so now you're sitting in this position. What is the diversity and inclusion? What does this mean? Like, are you conscious of that stuff? Like, are you trying to get more people through the door?
Yeah. I mean, there's other, when you go
board?
further down the organizational tree, there are more people. And certainly, my team's very diverse. So I try my own recruitment, but I've also been working with the organisation to sign us up to like Race at Work Charter and stuff like that, and probably being part of the D&I programs that they have.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay,
to try and boost the representation, not just of across the board, and then also the FCA is interested in this area. So
really?
Yeah. The FCA is interested in this area and wants to promote it. So again, part of what I like to do is, because I have to tell people you have to do it now. Because the FCA said so.
Brilliant. So how do you feel being, does it even come to your mind that you're the only one? Like,
It's always been the case since I've been in the working world. When I was at KPMG, I remember once, I was thinking we're in Canary Wharf, there's about 3 floors. I could probably name one other black person in these floors. So it's always been that situation. And I think that was the bit which took the longest time for me to get over as a person, not because of the quality of my work, but the certain things that people who go to private schools and all the rest of it know as part of the way they've always been taught, the cultural capital, as they say in sociology.
I remember that, actually.
You just don't have it.
Yeah, that's right. But did you have to learn it?
But you have to learn it.
Did you learn it? Like, how did you learn it?
I think it's largely through osmosis and also trial and error.
Right.
There were a few mistakes earlier on, but you get over it and move on. It wasn't the end of the world type mistakes.
Yeah. So let's talk about that then. So you're in an organisation where, in order for you to, yes, you have to deliver, you have to perform, but talk about the cultural capital. What kind of things should people be trying to look out for and work on?
You have to socialise with your work colleagues.
Does that mean going to the pub, or what does that mean? What level?
It doesn't always mean that. You can have lunch with people.
Strategically, or is it just more relationally, like people that have got common interests, or is it more strategic, like you are senior or you are this person, so therefore if I connect with you, you could become a potential coach, mentor, sponsor?
I think you should always do it in a largely natural way. I think if you do it in a very contrived way, it becomes obvious what you're trying you're trying to do, and people may get the wrong impression of you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you've got friends or work colleagues that you've got relationships with, then yeah, I mean, obviously. But if you want to, particularly in a large organization, your desire is to move ahead, then you do have to have some of those conversations or try and get into those rooms to meet those people.
Okay, cool. So you've been in your existing role how long?
And
now?
also keep in mind, you have to bring something to the table as well.
Ah,
sometimes.
good. So what can I bring to the table other than I'll pay for the bill? What else can you do?
I think there's a lot of focus now on things like reverse mentoring, which was sort of a new concept when I was joining the workforce. Organizations are keen to understand from the younger members of the organization how they can do things better in terms of D&I. They're interested to know what your ideas are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you take those opportunities, because if you bring something to the table, that puts you in even greater stead with those more senior people.
So it helps your personal brand, essentially?
Yeah.
Cool. So tell me then, so you've been at your existing role how long?
2 and a bit years.
So I'm not going to ask you what's next, because obviously that's going to let the cat out of the bag, because I know you're going to go to the highest heights and be the CEO of this organization, so we're not going to go there. But so you're obviously in a really senior position, you're enjoying it, clearly. You're managing all this money, which is exciting, or you're overseeing.
Yeah.
Say the correct word
Yeah.
before someone now thinks, oh, he's a trillionaire. Cool. And then you now decide to write this book. So tell us.
Yeah, so I mean, the book, thank you that you're nicely advertising, is really just talking a little bit about a fictional character. There's some things which are drawn from some of the things I've said today in there, and it's really just setting out his journey and saying you can overcome life's obstacles. You don't have to, I mean, not saying it's going to be easy, I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but you can overcome some of the obstacles that you might face, and it covers a range of different topics and how that person overcame them to be where they are. And then there's a workbook which kind of helps you to then draw out, well, actually, how can I apply this to me? What things am I thinking about or doing to further myself and to overcome any challenging situations that I might have?
And when did you write the book?
Where?
When?
I wrote it largely during the lockdown.
So why did you write a book?
I just felt...
Because you're a compliance officer, you guys are boring. Like,
I know, right? So, yeah.
Why are you writing books for? Like, isn't that too creative for you guys?
I need to let the creative muscle come to use.
You don't mess around, but yeah, go on.
But it was largely because I just wanted to tell a story. I wanted to share some of my knowledge, experience, expertise with a wider audience, and to do it in a way which is, it's a permanent, that there is a book, that no one can say it was what I said and change it around, or it's written down. So it's kind of what the sort of rationale behind it.
So when the book drops, where can we get it from?
You can get it from all online retailers globally. There's an audio version as well, so from Audible, audiobooks, Amazon, Kindle. There's Kindle versions, a paperback version. So yeah. Everywhere.
Excellent. But yeah, it's been fantastic speaking to you, hearing your story. And it's so good to connect with someone that I went to college with who's super successful, even though you're super humble about it. And if I go into some other details, people will be like, what am I talking about? But no, we're really proud of you. And obviously, you're doing the thing that you need to do. Please bring us in to these fancy lunches and dinners that you go to. I'm happy to come. I've got really good clothes that I could wear. I've got very good jokes to make, so bring me in. But
you've been working on that then, yeah?
100%. I'm ready. But yeah, no, it's a pleasure, and thanks so much for your time.
No, thanks for having me. It's been really interesting. It's been a pleasure. You got some interesting questions. Had me on my feet.
Good stuff.
I'm focused on building a startup that's focused on the health tech space and helping underrepresented high performers get healthier and do what they do best in the corporate world and change the world however they can, but do it by living healthier lives.